Θα ήθελα να κάνω μία ερώτηση.
I'd like to ask a question. One question for Mr. Nizamis and one for Mr. Zorbas. Let's start with Mr. Nizamis. First of all, thank you very much. I was very critical to all three of you because I've studied sociology and I'm now studying theology. Why is it that you talk about anthropocentricity and not theoanthropocentricity as the purpose of bioethics? I don't know if you understand. Why is it that we place man at the center and not the Son of God? Thank you very much for the question. Well, when I talked about the anthropocentric perception, I was talking about giving a first answer to a mechanistic perception of things. In order to reach the theanthropocentric orientation, we need to have, first of all, the anthropocentric orientation. What am I trying to say? Your question is very pertinent, but allow me to say that this is limited to a specific society of people, ourselves that is, because we all accept the existence of God. For another audience, where the notion of the transcendent or the perception of God is not there, we cannot have this discussion. We have found ourselves many times in scientific conferences, conferences of theology, and there you try to speak about God, and they say, I do not recognize God as something that is beyond nature, but it is something outside nature. I do not accept it. So the first thing to do is to touch upon the human element, and even better, of course, we can have what you said, which is the next step. But we take comfort in the fact that the World Health Organization speaks about spiritual needs, perhaps not in the sense that we as people of theology interpret it, but they don't only write about psychological, they write psychological and spiritual, and I think this is the next stage. And a question to Mr. Zorbas, if the rest of you would allow me, because you may have questions yourselves. You said that we are looking for the post-human, not having found the human. And I can't help wondering, is it perhaps that vis-a-vis post-humanism and everything we've talked about and will be talking about, AI, is it that we stand before them ecstatic, even though we're at the same point that the first humans were when they were created? They are faced with the tree of evil. Knowledge will always remain finite, and human-generated knowledge is finite. Perhaps we have the answers already about how to stand. I respectfully entertain both questions. As a president of the Bioethics Committee, when we have an interdisciplinary meeting comprising different domains or different religious beliefs and perceptions, I find it impossible to talk about theanthropos if we don't speak about anthropos, that is, the human being. We do this respectfully because the committee does not come here to discard programs that are submitted to us asking for our opinion and signature, but they come because of the food for thought. We place man and mankind at the center because, unfortunately, quote unquote, whoever works in the field of AI at the technical university at the moment is not thinking about human beings. They have taken things a step further. An example, there is a professor that wants to experiment with the students using an algorithm, showing the professor students conducive to collaboration, not conducive to collaboration, and neutral students. Can you imagine this thing becoming a reality, published in a big journal, and then adopted by big industry. Imagine what can happen. Mr. Panagiotopoulos talked about the big problems of social justice that will emerge, unfortunately, in the future. This is my concern, and the question, of course, is rhetorical. Of course, we are ecstatic to what is happening that we believe is beautiful. Professor, I'll dwell on the last thing that Mr. Zorbas mentioned regarding the problems of social justice that posthumanism brings before us. Studying posthumanism as a phenomenon, we find ourselves in a place that has intense political features. It's not uniform, and in literature there are three prominent trends distinguished vis-à-vis the perception of access to new scientific and AI achievements, artificial intelligence achievements. So we have the liberal posthumanism, which functions in the terms of the community of the market. We have the democratic one that has 20 or 30 different trends underneath it. This means that it affords us choice, and there is the anarchist posthumanism. These are not surmises. There are studies and there are doctoral theses at the Kapodistrian University of Athens precisely focusing on these matters. That is why I believe that it's important to speak about biopolitics. The Church should. Mr. Zorbas talked about the Technical University. We create these technologies and we are very much interested in the anthropocentricity because this is what we target and we take into account many parameters, and I would like to accentuate that bioethics tackles them belatedly. We don't have time. Habitually they are developed and then we are called upon to deal with the problem. That is why I would say that bioethics domains should not be deluged with experts from your domain, but from ours as well. We do not habitually participate. You understand that the zeal and the pleasure of developing a smart system does not give us time to deal with anything else. However, the spirit of the engineer is that of a hesychast, as I said before, and monastic, and it is compatible with what you would call what is desirable on the basis of the rules of ethics. One last question. My name is Kollios Vasilios. I am a theologian, a physical education teacher. I would like to ask Mr. Nizanis, because I am a healer too. I use electromagnetic fields for healing purposes. And within minutes, in fewer than 2 minutes, I can detect an illness in the DNA and in a system through frequencies and proceed to treatment later through the healthy frequencies that scientists identified. Could you please come to the question? Because the father would like to ask something. Okay, let me speak a little bit. Mr. Nizamis showed us a slide with frequencies. It read frequency, and next to it we had the emotion, or is it with this method? No. It talked about population frequency, talking about incidents of stress, pain, etc. And one question to Mr. Zorbas. The ascertainment you made about the risk of categorizing people as good students or bad students, underachievers. I'm a teacher. This is not necessarily bad, because if you identify a problem, you can remedy the problem of people who are underachievers or bad students. We can make them better without discriminating against them. I agree. There is a good approach and a bad approach because you distinguished between the perfect man. There was a comparison between the perfect man and the saint. The perfect man can be saint provided they are not carried away by machines and provided they are used as a means that helps, in the same way as fasting helps people. People should not be carried away. They always remain human in the spirit and in their ethics. Father, the last question. Thank you very much for a very interesting set of presentations. Echoing some of the previous questions broached, how early should we ask questions related to ethical dilemmas? This is what I'm thinking about. My question is the following. Being an engineer, I have the same question frequently. When we have technologies to evaluate, these technologies already apply and presuppose a specific attitude towards a problem. And this means that already they include and incorporate prospects that are very specific, and there's a very specific approach. And in the Orthodox world, and after the wonderful contributions that we've had from all of you, serving different fields that are relevant in approach and orientation, is it that using the theanthropos as the end or the purpose, is it that we should ask the question again to redefine the way we use a tool so that we can turn it to the right direction? I can say the following, colleague. I was not able to say this because we were pushed for time. In all the systems that we develop, there is always the element of feedback. The system generates something and information is fed back to the entry point again. And the question is it good? And God says it is good. Proceed. It's something similar. So this is the cornerstone. And I showed it to you in the block diagrams. So, velocity, the speed, because artificial intelligence will generate exponentially. The machine learns. We have taught it. And then we have a repetitive process for the second and third time of my algorithm, not the machine. The machine learns and it evolves. There is no time, Mr. Zorbaz, for us to think where this is all headed. So it must be inherent, in a way, in the algorithm. We must have the rules inherent in the algorithms, inherent rules of bioethics, or what science, I don't know. What tradition? The Orthodox tradition, Indian tradition, Hindu tradition, because we enter such domains afterwards. To say it fast, at a conference there was a female professor and she made an excellent presentation regarding the analysis of Indian bones. And amongst the audience there was an Indian lady and she said, "Whoever told you that you can touch the bones? You cannot touch the bones of a dead person." She said, "Yes, we did. We took them to the lab." And of course you can imagine the problem there. So feedback must be inherent in the algorithm according to the rules of morality. Thank you. Thank you very much.